Hi guys, it's Dom here from Wobbling About Rocking Out. Just had the wonderful opportunity to chat to Graham Kay about coming to Edinburgh Fringe with his show Pete and Me, a non-depressing look at autism, which is about his brother Pete, about Graham's brother Pete. He talks about the real life experience of caring for a sibling, and obviously sort of matches that with his trademark comedy, which can be seen on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and also The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. This guy has been everywhere. I catch him in Bermuda, actually, for this interview. We also talk about his Autistic podcast, which is a great resource for those interested in living with and understanding autism. So definitely check that out, and also go and support Graham if you're at the Edinburgh Fringe. Or you're going to the Edinburgh Fringe, of course. It's a wonderful kind of collection of culture and comedy. But yes, it was wonderful to chat to Graham today about this show, and I hope you enjoy this. It gets deep, and I'm very, very proud of it. So thank you to Graham for his time, and thank you to you guys for being here and checking this out. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Graham, you're in Bermuda right now. You're coming to Edinburgh for the
Yes.
Fringe with your show,
Yeah.
Pete and Me, a non-depressing look
Yes.
at autism from July to
Yes.
August, which is exciting. Now, how are you looking forward to that first off? Again, as a well-traveled, seasoned traveler of a comedian who gets everywhere, how are you looking forward to
Yeah.
taking your show there?
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to spending the time with the show and really stretching it out. And I did an off-Broadway run of it last year, and it was really great uh, to just have it in my life once a week and be thinking about it and watching it grow and change slightly. And I'm excited for that to happen again. Um, I'm excited to bring the sort of final version of it to Edinburgh. Well, the more complete. It's still, it's still going to change slightly, I would imagine, over a month, but it's at a place now. The show is that I'm very excited to show people. I mean, I think it's something unique. I don't think there's anything out there like it. It's
Mm.
from the perspective of loved ones who live with people with disabilities, who they love. So I just think that there's so many. If you find out your child has autism and you Google autism, it's depressing. Every resource is depressing, and this is a resource that is not. It's about love. It's about how he's made my life better, how it has. And it's not sugarcoating it because there are things that have been really tough.
Mm.
He was my brother. He's not my son, but I have a podcast
Yeah.
called Autistic. It's the comedian's guide to autism, and I do it with a fellow comedian, Kirk Smith, and he has a 22-year-old nonverbal son. So we come at it from both perspectives. What it's like to be a sibling, the protector,
Yeah.
and he's also my only sibling. So you know, I have no one to share the load with.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, um, when you're growing up, your parents only have so much bandwidth, which is a word that's used a lot these days.
Yeah.
But I think it works for this. And they don't have a lot of bandwidth left over for the other kid.
Yeah.
And I think, that's probably one of the reasons why I'm a comedian, because it's like I will get attention. I will force people to pay attention to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's fascinating because so I have cerebral palsy myself. I grew up
Hmm.
with CP and also ADHD, and I
Hmm.
thought that it was fantastic reading about your show because you've not only got that sort of comedic element, but you're also dealing with quite serious experiences from you and Peter having fun, but then you talked about getting arrested in the PR text, and then obviously
Yeah.
you developing OCD as well and being
Yeah.
sent to boot camp. So what are the challenges of balancing the comedic element, and you're obviously well known as a comedian, and that, and you know, having to be, I'm not sure it's about necessarily having to be funny, but also, you know, getting real life, really heavy, difficult
Yeah.
experiences across as well.
Um, I it, I I think that it took me a long time. I've been doing comedy since 2007.
Mm,
I've been doing it full time professionally for 11 years, and only in the past 18 months have I started talking about this
mm, mm.
because I just don't think I had the ability
Right.
until now to find that balance. It always I didn't want to talk about it because it's like I don't want to make fun of my brother. I don't want people to laugh at my brother,
Mhm.
and I don't want to come across as trying to profit from him.
Right. Yeah.
And that seemed a little gauche, you know. So uh I, but it is it is the reason why I am myself today.
Mhm.
He's the biggest reason why my personality is the way it is, I would say. Um, and and there's nothing wrong with talking about, there's almost something taboo about siblings talking about it.
Mhm.
You know, we're just supposed to shut up. You know, it's like, well, I have to take care of him when
Yeah.
my parents pass. I literally have to move back to Ottawa, Canada, stop living in New York City, stop being, you know, a traveling clown. I can probably be a traveling clown still, a traveling comedian, but it's just going to be a much different life,
Yeah.
you know, living in Ottawa as opposed to New York. But uh and 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 a lot of people deal with that and we can't talk about it. And this is a way to talk that where I can talk about it um and not be mean and show that, you know, he is a light in my life,
Mm.
but there are hard things about it, and
Mhm.
there just are, and that's life, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Doesn't mean that his his value is worth less than someone who's a genius or an Olympian or something. It doesn't. That's not what life is about,
Mm.
and that's also partly what the show is about.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting because I learned more about the Canadian system through reading about your show. You know, it does feel like, again, you're going to have to change your life to support your brother, which is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to do. But again, talking about how difficult that is for you
Yeah,
must have been
yeah,
cathartic in a way. And I'm interested
yes,
through, you know, listening to Autistic and the episodes that you've put out. You know, it's been going for a while now. You're talking there about autism acceptance and ADHD. If I was to ask you what you've learned about yourself, Graham, through discussing these things, through talking about
yeah,
this stuff with your friend,
yeah.
you know, through being open and honest about these experiences, what have you learned about yourself as a person through recording Autistic and I guess as an extension, putting this show together?
I've learned more about myself in through doing this than I have in the 35 years previous to that.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
I would say that I learned that one of the, you know, one of the reasons why I'm still single is because I don't know what my needs are. I wasn't
mm,
allowed to have needs growing up.
mm,
And so I don't know what those needs are. I don't know how to ask for those needs. I don't know how to express what they are.
mm.
So, you know, it's helped me grow a lot as a person. And I think, you know, yeah, I don't know. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. Like what I said earlier about um well, whatever. I forgot. I had something I said earlier about that. But uh yeah, I still have ADHD though. I can't nick that.
Yeah,
I literally looked at my toes and I was like, I gotta clip my toenails. And I was like, I
yeah.
have no idea what I'm talking about.
It's
Shit.
okay. It's okay. I
Yeah,
think there's some excellent points in there,
yeah,
around learning about yourself and about, and that's kind of why I wanted to ask about it, because I saw you did the episode on ADHD, and I know that you have ADHD
yeah,
through listening to previous interviews you've done, and I think that can be a blessing and a curse in so many ways,
yeah,
because you
yeah,
get loads of stuff done, but again you could be making a point and then you're like, oh, toenails, which
yeah,
is, it makes for great comedy, but
yeah,
perhaps but in reality quite difficult for you. So when you
yes.
found you got that diagnosis, and you do episodes on Autistic about late diagnosis as well, when you got that diagnosis, how did that change your life and how you saw yourself, and I guess that understanding of self?
Um, you know, I got the diagnosis in high school. I
Mm.
was probably about 15 or 16,
Right.
and I was put on medication, and I didn't like the way the medication made me feel.
Hmm.
So I flushed it down the toilet and never took it, told my parents I did. They still don't know I did that.
Hmm.
And my grades have been bad and I were bad and I kind of just ignored it. And I
Right.
still have kind of I don't I you know I still I still am kind of ignoring it. I think I like that there are parts of it. The parts of it make my comedy better. Like daydreaming all day is really helpful for comedy. It's really helpful for writing bits because you're constantly running bits in your head all day, every day.
Yeah.
You're cycling through ideas and going, that's not good, and throwing it to that. Oh, maybe that, maybe, all day. And I like that. Some people think that's a prison, but I love that. But also, I couldn't work in an office. I couldn't, there was like, I was a house painter. I got fired from that job for painting the wrong house. Um,
Right.
yeah. I was a landscaper. I was the slowest landscaper in the world. I every office job I had, my bosses, I'm really good at interviewing and they'd be excited about me. And then I could just slowly watch the light leave their eyes. Be like, this guy
Right.
doesn't have, he can't understand anything.
Right.
Um, so I think I found what I did is I realized that the way my brain works, I can't do the certain things, but I can do other things really well, and
Yeah.
I better go full bore into that. I guess that's a really long way of saying it. I decided to become a comedian because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
Yeah,
helps you. Yeah. And I think
yeah.
that's really interesting too. Talking about your career as well. Obviously you have had national, international exposure, across platforms. I think having multiple, you know, the late night show, for example, and things like that. I mean, how does doing that and doing Just for Laughs and all the things that you've done in your comedy career, how does it prepare you for what you're about to do? Because, I've seen you do comedy bits, on these shows, but
Hmm.
this is this is a multiple day thing.
Yeah.
This is a multiple day thing. It changes, it develops. It's very, very personal, very, very taxing. I can only imagine. How does that, prepare you, being on TV, doing all that stuff,
Yeah.
prepare you for what you're about to do and the challenges that you face taking this very personal thing on the road, for Edinburgh Fringe.
I think, I mean, I do so many shows. If
Mm.
you're a professional comedian and you're on the road like I am 50, 60% of the time,
Yeah.
um, you develop an armor. You become bulletproof
Right.
to scenario. Um, Not to say like in two ways. I can do well in horrible scenarios, but also if I don't do well, it doesn't crush me.
Right.
Within an hour, I'm fine. I
Okay.
know that tomorrow is another day, and I'm a good comedian. I have the receipts. Um, this was a bad show for these reasons, and it's not my fault, and that's okay. Um, so I think just doing it for so long, and yeah, it's just I think it would be tough to do as a newer comedian, the Fringe
Mm,
Festival, because you don't have that armor yet, and there's going to
mm,
be tough shows. There's going to be, it's going to be a bright sunny day, and no one's going to want to come, and maybe it'll be, half full or something. And comedy is better when the theater's full, or whatever, or
mm,
maybe it's the beginning. People don't know who I am yet, or it only gets whatever. But um, all that's fine. I know I can put on a good show. I know my show, and I know it's gonna be good. Um,
mm.
I do think it'll be interesting because I cry a bit in it sometimes.
Right.
Just that some of the things I talk about induce that from me.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm interested to see what it will feel like, day 6 in a row of feeling that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
intensity. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
The intensity of the show. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm, I think it's going to be very exciting, but also, yeah, again, very, very taxing as well. So,
yeah.
I do wish you the best of luck with that, Graham. But I think a couple more questions now. Then, I think one of the things about the Fringe, like we say, is that challenge. But it feels like you've dealt with various challenges, and again, this in itself, doing the podcast and talking about this stuff is a challenge. So when people come to the show, when people, if and when people come to the Fringe, and I guess when people listen to the podcast, we'll do two prongs to this. What do you want people to take away from the Fringe when they come and see your show? What do you want people to not that I'm trying to get you to sort of predict or tell people what to think,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
like what would you like people to take away from the Fringe if they're seeing you for the first time?
I want them to know who my brother is and like him,
Mhm,
and I want them to know what it's like to have a sibling with a disability,
mhm.
and I want them to know that there are not, even in the UK, enough resources.
Yeah.
And it is a there are more people with autism now that are than there were before, and it is growing. And it's an aging population. And when these people, it's fine. There's enough services for everyone in school, but when they pass 21, there's a
Yeah.
huge drop off.
Yeah.
So I just want people to think about all that stuff, and then and also, the third thing I want them to think about is how funny Graham is. Yeah,
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah,
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 it's a good mission statement. I also want to
yeah.
talk. I also want to ask that same question around the podcast because again, that is a resource, like you say, and a
Hmm.
resource that will last for years and years and years. What when if people come to that and they listen to you guys reflecting, talking about your experiences, again, sometimes funny, sometimes not. What do you want people to take away from people that come to Autastic for the first time?
Um, I want them to have a sense of community, feel the sense of community that we've created.
Mhm,
Um, we have our loyal listeners, and
mhm,
um, yeah, it's just nice. It's nice to hear someone else going through what you're going through.
mm, mm,
Um, and also, some people listen to it as a window. They're curious what it's like, or they work in the industry. They're helpers in some way. They work with people who need help,
mhm. Yeah,
disabilities, and yeah, that's what I want.
yeah. Okay. That again, very clear
Mm.
and concise, Graham. Thank you very much. In
Yeah,
terms of there was something that I wanted to ask as well, sort of tack on before we do the final plugging bit.
yeah,
I read that you talk to Pete, you try your best to talk to Pete every day.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a really beautiful thing. You're not, an evidence that you are, that you really, you know, there's a lot of love there and a great connection there. How important, if you were to put it into words, is that connection for you? Because you're in, you're traveling a lot, you live in different cities.
Yeah.
Not always easy to keep in touch, time differences, etc. So how important is it to have that regular conversation with and regular connection with Pete?
I think it's really important. I used to think, well, I'm just doing it for him because
Mm,
he's lonely and it's my, I love him, but of course, but it's a sense of duty. Um, but you know, I'm a middle-aged man without any children, and he's basically my kid. He's my constant. My life is so crazy right now. Like I'm
mm,
traveling so much for work and doing shows in arenas, and I'm in Bermuda doing shows now. Like the he is like something I can hold on to. He's
yeah,
like a constant. I talk to Pete every morning. I pretend I'm Bert and Ernie every day. I pretend Bert, he's Ernie. I'm Bert. He told me I'm Bert because I'm taller. And of course. And so it's yeah, I don't know, it's something constant, I guess,
yeah.
in a life that doesn't have a lot of those.
Yeah, I like that, and I appreciate your honesty as well, Graham. It's again important for for that connection to hold on to it. I think personally, and I
Hmm.
really appreciate you sharing that with me.
Sure.
In terms of finishing up, then, is there anything? This is sort of where we check if I've done my job properly. Is there anything that you've got to plug and promote, or you would like to share before we finish up today?
I have two comedy specials on YouTube. The latest one is called Live in a Bowling Alley, Graham K Live in a Bowling Alley. And the other one is Stupid Jokes. Those are both available on YouTube. If you could, give those a watch, share with your friends. And most importantly, come see me in Edinburgh, um, July 26th. No, wait, July 31st, or I believe, to the 26th of August. Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, it's gonna be a great show, and thank
Yeah.
you, Graham. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well.
Yeah.
Really,
Thanks so much. And follow me on Instagram, of course, Mr. Graham K.
of course.
Yeah.